I'm back. Do you miss me? It was only one day. Well, it was 3 days in a row, but... It's Monday. Oh, tablet. I need this thing. And here we go in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2020. My name's Jeremy, and here we go. This is my first cup of coffee. This is leftovers from what I bought on my short trip over the weekend. It's some manner of pre-ground Folgers because I don't even think they had whole bean coffee at the little store that I bought my stuff at. I had a great time. I had a great weekend. Friday was all the days were great. They really were. Traveled to northern Maine, Rangeley, Maine. Stayed in a cabin on a, by Maine standards, I would call it a pond, and I think the name is that of a pond. In a lot of places, people would call it a lake, a small lake. I did not swim in it. In fact, I don't even know that there's a beach on it anywhere. People that use it are basically canoeing around. Saw a frog catch a crayfish. That was pretty crazy. Never seen that before. And really just had a wonderful, wonderful time. It was needed. I'm very happy it happened. Cat, you can't sit behind me. It's not going to happen. Cattail. What did I do? I'll give you the high points. I slept. I ate. I walked around. Went swimming in a canyon, a gorge. Took some cool pictures. That's it. Watched some movies. What I needed was to disconnect, and I disconnected. The internet, I barely had cell service where I was, and that was what I wanted. You know, it was just enough that I could get a message out if need be, but not so good that I was distracted and got no work done, and it was wonderful. But I'm back now, and excited for a good week. I hope you all had a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed the video I left for you on Friday. I hope that was somewhat enjoyable. I saw a couple comments, and I think we've got responses to read about for today. Yeah. No, it's Monday. There should be an episode. Let's see if it's live yet. The other coffee mug is in the dishwasher. When I got back yesterday, I had no desire to do dishes. So I went swimming in a reservoir with friends. It's like, I'm not ready to think of this as work yet. Wrong tab. Here we go. If anybody has great suggestions for interviews, make sure you email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. Okay, here we go. Sensei Chris Chase. Yeah, just went live. I had fun talking to this guy. Super nice. We've had a number of Ishinryu karate stylists on the show of late, which is kind of fun for me because it was one of the styles I grew up with. So talking to people who took that style and kind of ran with it and everything. Actually, we've had a number of people who did that. Wow. How many people watch this video? Let's see. Do we get the normal views? Oh, that's not. I'm curious. We're gonna. No, not nearly as many. Normally we average somewhere in the mid to high 20s, and we had half that. We had 12 people watch that video. So I guess part of it is you all like watching me live, that you don't enjoy watching my garden. But guess what? It's tough. That's what had to happen. And I don't go away too often. I needed to. Right? Right, cat? Had a friend stay here and take care of her. And, from the report I got, she didn't miss a beat. She was just as annoying and just as frustrating with food. I was hoping she would be on better behavior for other people. Nope, not the case. What's going on today? I'm not sure. Kind of collecting my thoughts, getting back into the groove of things, doing some laundry, putting stuff away. Whenever you go away, you come back, you have all that stuff you gotta do. And I know I got a couple phone calls and meetings. There are a bunch of things that were hanging towards the end of the week that I had to push off until today. One of them being, I think, knock on wood, got a great recommendation from someone on, I think it was Wednesday, for someone to help with marketing, specifically marketing of the programs, because they're not selling what they should. They're solid programs. They are incredibly fairly priced, probably too low, to be honest. And I'm too close to it. I'm too close to see how to do it. So a friend made an introduction, and this person seemed solid. And they said, here's the general plan that I would suggest. The plan makes sense, because remember, I understand marketing, so I can vet this stuff. And we're going to get started today. And hopefully, how does that impact you? It means if Whistlekick can get to a point of profitability, a lot of things change. Everything changes. And this is what we're trying to do right now. So, we'll keep doing it. What else? What else to say? I think the only other thing to say is that being away this weekend reinforced how important it is to get away. The way my life is, as much as I work, as stressed as I get, I probably need a weekend like that every few months. And it's been a while. I need to be better about finding ways to get away. And part of what I think made it really restorative is that I didn't do anything. Quite often when I travel, I spend time with friends, which I really enjoy. But it doesn't give me the ability to completely unpack and just sit. I brought a journal down to the lake and wrote. There were some, and I don't mean like a diary entry kind of thing. There's some things that have been rattling around in there philosophically that were important. Now, I don't know if you can hear this, and actually those of you who are watching live, I would love to know if you can hear this. It's not quite there yet. The one thing that I did when I came back yesterday is I finished the setup of my new hydroponic system, which is over there. What is it, like 120 little pockets. And I've got, I think, 20 of them full of things. And so it's running. It runs every 30 minutes for 5 minutes. And you can hear the water discharge as it runs through the system. It woke me up. It was weird and just loud enough to wake me up, but I'm curious if you can hear it. If you can hear it, I'm gonna go turn it off. If you can't, we'll leave it. I've got to figure out a way to quiet the discharge. I've got some ideas. So just let me know. Let's see what you all wrote in. Today we got comments from Frank and Gabe. All right, we'll start with Gabe. Loved the tour. Thanks. Gabe's referring to the garden tour. I noticed the straw. Have you heard of Ruth Stout? She uses straw as a ground covering for her garden. In the Pacific Northwest, we have Paul Gauchi, who does the same sort of thing, but with wood chips, because they're readily available here. And what he does is known as Back to Eden, or BTE gardening. Hope you had a great weekend. I have heard the name Paul Gauci, uh, and I have not heard the name Ruth Stout. So the straw, the whole idea behind the straw. Okay, Jason says you can hear it, but it's not a big distraction. All right, I'm going to turn it off. Be right back. You gotta move, cat. She's trying to take over my spot. That's my spot. It'll take a few minutes for it, well, probably about a minute for it to finish discharging what was ready. See, it gets louder. The fact that you could already hear it. All right, so the whole purpose of the straw, here's the gist. Nature doesn't like a vacuum. Nature does not like when things don't exist. That's why deserts are fairly rare. That's why you could dig up a bunch of grass, leave bare earth, and very quickly things are going to grow there. Nature wants to grow stuff. I don't want nature to grow other stuff in my garden, next to my tomatoes and my peppers. So by putting down straw, it makes it harder for things to grow that I don't want them to. And that has been really effective. It's inexpensive. It doesn't take much time. Cat, you can't go behind me. And it's one of the best things that I've ever done for gardening, because prior to that, I didn't get good results out of my annuals, and I didn't plant them because I would plant them. Well, I would plant them, but they wouldn't do well, and then I would just kind of hate it because I hate weeding. I just find it to be so monotonous and so boring, and honestly stupid. I just think it's dumb. I did this once. I don't want to do it again. And once you weed a garden, you got to weed it again and again and again and again. So it's been really effective. Wood chips. Wood chips are a mixed bag in terms of mulch and the way they treat the soil, and you've got to be careful about what kind of wood you use and everything. Some people have great luck with it. Depends on how the soil's doing. There are a lot of variables there. And because I don't have a good source of wood chips that are going to cost me less than the straw, I use a straw. At one point this was years ago, I had a lot of old trees that I had to chip up, and so I rented a chipper and brought it here. And I used those wood chips not for annuals, but around trees and things, and they worked quite well. Certainly something you can do. It's almost embarrassing to say, but this coffee is actually quite good. It's just random Folgers. They call it something fancy, their Roastmaster series or whatever, but it's just coffee. All right. August is water quality month, and we've got 4 questions from Frank. Why bother with filtering water out of the tap? Isn't it clean enough? It might be. It might not be. How do you know? Here's the thing people don't realize, especially if you're on city water. By the time you get a boil water advisory, it's because something's already gone wrong. If we think about that from the perspective of self-defense and protecting ourselves, doesn't it make sense to treat the water yourself so you know that it's safe? And that's where something like a gravity filter, I have one from a company called Berkey. I run all my water through that. I've had my well tested, and my well's fine, but I still filter my water. Why? It tastes better, number one. Number two, if something pops up in my well, the filters that I have will filter it all out. I could go to some standing, crummy, gross water and filter that and be fine. Whether you're talking about water or you're talking about a street confrontation, you will always be either underprepared or overprepared. You will never be perfectly prepared because you can't predict the future. So you might as well be overprepared. Something like filtering the water out of your tap, most of the time will be over preparation. But it doesn't take much time. It doesn't cost much money. Especially once you get past the initial outlay. I think I spent $300 on my filter with all the stuff. And that was close to 10 years ago. And I've probably got another 10 years before I have to replace those filters. Why not? She's purring. Which is healthier, purified tap water or bottled water? Assuming that the purification of the tap water is good, it's a solid filter, then the tap water is going to be. Bottled water, and this doesn't mean I don't drink it. I had some over the weekend because the water coming out of the tap tasted funny. I didn't like it. And most of what I drank was that. It was mostly coffee. To be honest, I did not. And beer. I drank some beer. I had a 6-pack of beer. And a couple when I went out. Most bottled water has trace plastic in it. In fact, the studies that they continue to do show that the bottling process, as they put the cap on, it means that there are small amounts of plastic that end up in the water. That plastic is not good. It builds up, and can your body process it? I think so, but we don't want to make it harder than we have to. So purified, filtered, good quality tap water, or even better, spring water, that's where you want to go. Bottled water is better than not drinking water. Okay. Frank commented that he uses a Brita. A Brita is generally better. Well, not generally. A Brita is better than nothing. The difference is the Brita filters are designed primarily for taste. If you take a look at what they filter out, they don't get quite the nastiest stuff. The other thing to keep in mind is that depending on how heavy your water is, Brita filters can actually be really expensive. When I first moved to Vermont, I used a Brita filter because of where I lived. And the water coming out of the tap was safe, but just very heavy and had a very strong metallic taste. And the Brita filter did a good job of correcting that. But I was replacing one of those filters every 2 weeks. And that got really expensive. So I started buying bottled water. This was before I knew about the plastics. It was way cheaper. Something like this Berkey, I think each filter is rated for something like 16,000 gallons, and I've got 4 of them. So 64,000 gallons for, let's call it $300. You do the math on that. Pretty darn cheap. How much water is too much to drink in the summer? I'm listening to a book right now called The Body by Bill Bryson. And one of the things in a recent chapter was talking about water and asking this very question. And while it is possible to drink too much water, and yes, you can die from hydro something hypoxia, I forget what the scientific name is, the clinical designation for drinking too much water and your kidneys shutting down. It's really hard to do. You'd have to really be dumb about it. If you wanted to be scientific about it, you would weigh your sweat. And you drink that much water. But nobody's going to do that. Listen to your body. It's something we learn in martial arts, isn't it? How is your body feeling? How is your body reacting to this? And the more we can get in touch with how we're feeling, the better off we are. You want to be careful about things like Gatorade, things that have sugar in them. They taste good, especially when you're thirsty, but that sugar adds up real quick. There are lots of electrolyte options that you can throw in that don't have sugar or have far fewer sugars in them if you're thirsty. I just throw a little bit of salt in my water, and when I'm thirsty, it tastes really good. When I'm not, it doesn't taste so good. Kind of an interesting signal from my body. I think the safest thing, if you're exerting yourself, is just constantly drink a little bit of water. Now, one of the things that is interesting is people will use water breaks as a distraction. If you teach kids, you know that when kids get bored or something, they go get a drink of water. They want to step away from whatever it is you're doing. And you got to find some balance in that. Assuming that somebody is hydrated when they start exercising, unless it's really hot and really sweaty, they can make it through an hour-long class without water, safely. If you want to be really, if you want to be really safe about it as an instructor, you can go ahead and give them a break halfway. Take 5 minutes, get some water. Of course, the rules are completely different if you're outside, if it's hot, 90 something degrees, crazy humidity. And that's a little bit beyond the scope of what I have time for here. So just be intentional about it. And if you're an instructor, remind your students, hey, if you haven't been drinking water all day, this isn't the time. You don't show up to class and chug a gallon and then try to work out. It's not a smart plan. Adults should be able to prepare for martial arts training. And if it's going to be hot in the training space, they should be drinking water throughout the day. I don't like the taste of water. I don't like the taste of air, but it's something I gotta do. Water is critical. It is the majority of what we're made of. And let's be real, if someone doesn't like the taste of water, it's because you've become desensitized to water, because we are biologically driven to drink water. If you don't like the taste of water, it's because you're drinking too much other crap, and you should cut back on it. Is it safe to drink ice water after being out in extreme heat? It is. The whole ice water thing started, there was a study, I think this was in the 80s, that said because ice water comes into your body cold, your body has to warm it up before it can use it. And that uses a little bit of energy. In other words, drinking ice water burns calories. And so everybody got really excited about that. I'm trying to remember the follow-up that I read. This is what I learned about this. It was either one of two things are happening. It does so little that it's not worth it, or it's actually counterproductive in some way. I don't remember what the reasoning was. I just remember the outcome was saying ice water isn't really going to do anything different for you. Now, if you prefer ice water, go for it. It's not going to hurt you. If you want the fastest way to rehydrate, it is room temperature water. Basically body temperature water. That's what your body is going to want. And that's what it's going to utilize the fastest. If you prefer drinking ice water on a hot day, go for it. If you want some ice cubes in there, if you're drinking some iced tea or a beer and you want it cold, it's fine. Go for it. It's not gonna hurt you to do that. Okay. I think that was the last one. Yeah, I think I saw some things come up. Frank says Cincinnati water is pretty clean anyway. Maybe it is. I don't know. I will say that if you city water, any kind of water system, anything other than a well or you bringing in your own water is going to have inherently more problems. Does that mean that's the biggest concern in your life and you should worry about it? No. But just know that that water is only as good as the people treating it. And that one of the ways most cities treat their water is with chlorine or chloramine, and that stuff's not good for you. There are filters that will take that out of your tap too. It's not as big of a deal for washing your clothes. A little bit worse for showering, but it's not as bad as drinking it. So just something to keep in mind. You know, we've all got to worry about balancing the time and the energy and the effort that we've got towards everything, right? We've got the same 24, and we've got the same amount of input, energy that we can give to all of our things. That's our training, it's our sleep, it's our food, it's water, it's friendships, it's work, it's all these things. So where dealing with water falls on your list, I can't answer that. For me, I dealt with it. It was easy. I moved out into the woods, and I've got a filter, and now I don't have to worry about it anymore. For short-term trips like this past weekend, I brought a little bit of water, and I just kind of tried to be smart about it. Beer is an interesting choice when we think about drinking because, yeah, the alcohol will dry out a little bit, but you're still getting some water. And most breweries use incredibly well-filtered water because otherwise it affects the taste of the beer. Hi, cat. You can't have my coffee. It's my coffee. If I was going for a longer period of time, I have some portable filters that I bring with me. When I go car camping, I'm bringing water anyway, so I bring a lot of water. It's water. Water is important. Drink it, bathe in it, recognize all that it does for you. Good questions today. If you have questions you want to ask me, drop them below. I'll respond tomorrow. Questions, comments, anything we talked about today, anything that's going on with your training, whatever it is. I think Frank got a question. What do dancers drink? I don't know. If you want to support the work that we do here, you got a number of ways. Two easiest ones, go to the store, whistlekick.com, make a purchase, and if you want to use the code FIRSTCUP15, that saves you 15% off and lets us know that, hey, it was a First Cup person. Tap water. What do dancers drink? Tap water. I should have guessed that one. The other thing you can do is you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick, sign up. Even at the lowest tier, we give you free content. We're all about giving back. I got a burp coming, pardon me. Go check out that episode with Cynthia Chris Chase on Martial Arts Radio. And other than that, I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you back here tomorrow, 6:30 a.m., bright and early, for another episode of First Cup. Take care, everybody. Peace.